Louis Patron back with the Key West Legal Hour. Thank you for joining me this Friday morning. I want to talk now a bit about the stop and frisk law. You've heard of it. It's been all over the media for the past week or 10 days. In New York City, they have a local law that a policeman, if he is suspicious of someone walking on the street, for example, can stop that person and frisk them, which means you're walking down the street, a policeman looks at you, he doesn't like the way you're walking, he can say stop, he can ask you to identify yourself. None of these things you have to do, by the way. I think it's unconstitutional. Who are you? Show me ID. Then he may tell you, he'll pat you down to see if you're carrying a gun or a knife or you got narcotics on you. Put your hands against the wall, spread your legs. They do this in New York City, and apparently it has helped in reducing crime, the mayor says, Mayor Bloomberg. Someone questioned it, though. Is this right? Because this is an illegal search and seizure under the United States Constitution, and we all live under the Constitution. Because you must have probable cause. You must have there has to be something that the police officer saw which makes him reasonably believe that that person is committing a crime or has something bad on him or so forth. Police didn't follow any reasoning. They had the right automatically in New York to stop a person without knowing anything, whether they had a gun in the pocket, they saw a bulge, they saw a knife or anything like that. It's been going on for 10 years. Well, finally was questioned before a federal court judge. This judge came out with a decision about 10 days ago, 195 pages. Now, let me tell you something. I practiced law for 46 years. A good portion of my practice was in federal court. Every time a federal district court judge is deciding a case, and this is true, I find it humorous. I had to read these cases, though. They were so long. It's deciding a case that's a new question. It hasn't come up this way before, and they think it's going to be important. Instead of writing a 2, 3, or 4-page decision, they spend hours, days, and weeks on the decision because they know it's going to the United States Supreme Court, and out comes a 150, 200-page decision. That's what happened here, a 195-page decision. It could have all been said in 2 to 4 pages. But anyhow, it was found unconstitutional. It's not even equal. People are entitled also under the Constitution to equal rights. It seems like 88% of the stop and frisks were black people, only 12% of white people. Something wrong here. Well, the mayor argues black neighborhoods are where the crime's being committed. Why would we be in the white neighborhoods stopping people? So there's an argument here, a balance argument. Is it doing some good? Should we keep it? Because if you keep it because it's doing good, as the mayor is saying, forget that they're not stopping whites. They're just stopping blacks, basically, but it's helping the criminal situation, cut down on crime. Is that all right to justify the law? Well, I want to tell you something. I don't think so. What is happening in this country is we are eating away, bit by bit, of people's rights. What right does a police officer have to stop me if I'm black, even if, or white, on the streets of New York just because he doesn't like the way I look, or I'm wearing a beard now, this beard may make me suspicious, and he frisks me, he body searches me, and he asks me questions. I'm not doing anything. I have a right against unreasonable searches and seizures. But he's doing it. Well, if we want to combat crime, we got to give up a little bit of the right, they say. Now, let's go to something else. The federal government. You know, this thing, this NSA thing, security thing, they came out, and we find out now they're bugging telephones, they're bugging the internet, the government. Why should the internet why should the government bug me and bug you? Not right. It's none of their business what we say or write in those regards. No way. Well, they say we got to do this. Otherwise, we can't catch the bad guys who want to blow up the United States. Well, you got to decide. Do you want to give up a little bit of your freedom there too? I say no, that's wrong also. Because I'm going to tell you, my friends, you give up a little bit here and you give up a little bit there, and before you know it, most of your rights are down the tube. They're gone. And then you will really be taken advantage of. Topless activity. Women baring their breasts. Her name is Phoenix Feely. Phoenix Feely, she's a New York State resident. She was at the Jersey Shore community called Long Beach, I think it was, and Spring Lake. And I know Spring Lake. I had a cousin who had a home there, and I spent some time there. The community of Spring Lake is very snobbish, very high scale. They had the most sedate, quiet beach I've seen in my life. I was so impressed with that. I mean, nobody with radios blasting, and it's a family town, people with money, big mansions with lawns. My cousin had the same thing. All right. So she went sunbathing topless. There's a town ordinance in Spring Lake that said if you do anything that constitutes an act of civil disobedience, you can be arrested. Well, it doesn't say going topless if you're a female is an act of civil disobedience, but they arrested her for that, and the judge found her guilty. Going topless, an act of civil disobedience. The police officer said, put on your top. She said no. He fined her $816. Now, Phoenix Feely is not a newcomer to protesting or going topless. She went topless 7 years ago in New York City. She walked down Broadway not wearing any bra, covering of any kind to cover her breasts. The New York City police officers arrested her, okay? Because there was a law saying you can't go topless in New York City. She took it to court, and the court said she had a right to go topless. Because if a man can go topless, a woman can go topless. It's called equal rights under the Constitution. Makes sense to me, made sense to me 7 years ago in her case. Today, that law does not exist, and a police officer in New York City cannot arrest anyone, any place, public or private, for walking around, any woman, with her breasts hanging out. It's her right to show them. So, I've got to assume that Phoenix Feely was testing the law in New Jersey also, and the judge wants to fine her. She says, I'm not going to pay the fine. He says, okay, I give you 16 days in jail. She says, I am going to jail. She's an activist. For women to have the right to show their breasts makes sense. Men can do it. And she's now in jail, and she decides she's really going to do this right. She goes on a hunger strike. She's into her 10th or 11th day of her hunger strike. She only takes water. She's driving her jailers crazy, of course. They don't want her to get sick or die on their hands. She won't die in that short a period of time, but something could happen. A kidney could shut down or something. And they can't wait to get rid of her. I admire this woman, not because it's a topless cause, but because she believes in what she's doing. She's the head of the Go Topless organization in the United States, by the way. That's her story. I think it's a terrific story. We're going to station break again. When we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Israeli-Palestinian talks, which are about to begin. You know, let's finally get these two countries together to live in peace, Israel in peace, Palestinians have their own country, and so forth. And that's where I'm going to go when we return. So please stay with me. I'll be back after station break.